Okay, so we're working our way through step 3 of Pong, and we just saw that to get the ball to bounce off the paddle, we could use set H minus heading. And I just want to explain this a little more because it's really important to understand how these words fit together. So we looked up all these words, and I'm going to just show you a little picture here. Let me close this. So what we have is set H minus heading, okay? And I made a little diagram. Brian Harvey calls these hopper diagrams. He's written extensively on logo, and he has, which is the language that's used in microworlds, and he has his own application for playing around with turtles in logo. But anyway, this is the way that he diagrams instructions that we send to microworlds. So what's happening here? Well, so we have our let's walk through how microworlds reads these sentences. So microworlds is going to start out looking at set H, and set H is a command that needs one input. So he gets to the end, he gets to the space, right? This is why it's important to not put spaces in your words, okay? Because microworlds will read to the space and say, oh, okay, this is a procedure name. So he'll say, okay, I've got my procedure name. I'll look it up in my vocabulary. He looks it up, and we saw before you could look it up and find it. It's one of the primitive procedures that Logo already knows. So he says, yep, I know that one. And I also know that it needs one input. So I need to go looking for my input. So he goes along till he finds another word here, and he knows he's got a complete word when he gets to the space, and he says, oh, the word I have is minus. Well, can minus give me the input that I need for set H? Well, yeah, minus can give you the input that you need because minus outputs a number, but minus also needs input. So we go and read the next word here, and we get either to a space or the end of the line. Okay, and we say, heading. Look up heading in my vocabulary. Do I know how to do that? Yeah, I know how to do that. Okay. Do I need any inputs for heading? No, don't need any inputs. So you see this is sealed off at the top. No need for any inputs. Okay. So this is a reporter that doesn't need any inputs. And what does it report? Well, it reports whatever the heading of the turtle was. And in our example, our turtle had a heading of 70 at one point. So that's the ball, right? So when the heading is 70, if the heading happens to be 70, then the output from the heading procedure, from the heading reporter, is going to be 70. Okay? Now minus is happy because minus gets its input. So minus sees a 70, and minus says, yeah, now I can do my job. I can convert that 70, and I'll pass it off as a minus 70. And then set H gets its minus 70, says, okay, good. Now I can do my work. I know what to do. I have a minus 70, and I can set the heading of the turtle to minus 70. Okay, so that's how these instructions get read. So now let's go back and see what else we can do with this. So one of the cool things about programming languages in general and Logo in particular is that if there's something that's not in the vocabulary that you want microworlds to be able to do, you can just teach it a new word. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Procedures tab over on the side. Now, see over on the side there are these different tabs. Just like in a backpack you have tabs. In this section over here, we have a Procedures tab. We have a like a general project tab that shows all your pages, and you can look and see what's on the page and things like that. There's a Process tab we'll talk about another time, and there's a General Shapes tab for the whole project. Okay, so we're going to click on the Procedures tab. It looks kind of like a book with some pages open, and we're going to teach microworlds a new word. So the way you teach microworlds a new word is you say to, and then the name of the word. We're going to teach it how to bounce. Okay? And to bounce, we already decided that to bounce is to set H minus heading, right? And basically what we're doing is we're writing a recipe. We're saying, I'm going to teach you how to bounce. Okay? To bounce, you need to do this. And then when you're done, there might be more things that you want to do or not. In this case, this is all we need to do to bounce. When you're finished with all your instructions for bouncing, or for whatever the new word is, then you say end. So it's to the name of the word that you're teaching, logo, or microworlds, and then the instructions that go with it, and then the word end. So you'll always see the word to and the word end in any definition of a new word. Okay? All right, so now bounce is now a word that microworlds knows, just like any word in the vocabulary. So any word you could look up in the vocabulary. If we look in the vocabulary, we don't see the word bounce. It's not in there. Okay? So, but because we have it written here in this project, as long as you're in pong.mwx or whatever you named your project, microworlds will treat the word bounce just like any other word in its vocabulary. Okay, so this is really powerful. So now what we can do is we can set in our on touching. So I'm going to open his backpack again. And now instead of saying set H minus heading, I'm going to say bounce. Because now that's a word that that microworlds understands. Okay? So let's try it now. Let's see. Let's get, is this guy? Oh, he's going in the wrong direction. Let me set his heading towards the go back to state tab and set his heading to like 60. So remember, as long as we're somewhere on this side, so if we're between 0 and 180, we're going to be going generally to the east, right? So I'm setting it to 60, so that'll go kind of upish, right? So let's click here, and boink, it worked. Okay. Now, we also made the paddle so I can do it like this. So what if we once again make this, make it 80, say, or 80. And I'll click on this, and I'll click on this, and now I can, it's almost like I'm playing a game. So we made some good progress. So I'm going to hit stop all the action. So now we've taught microworlds a new word. We've got our paddle doing something our ball doing something interesting, and our paddle doing something interesting. There's one other interesting question in here. It says, does this formula work for a bounce off a wall on the top of the screen. So could we bounce off of the top of the screen using the formula set H minus heading? Let's think about that. If we're going, so right now this guy's heading is, let's set his heading to 0. Right now his heading is 0, right? If he goes up here and bounces off the top of the wall, we want him to turn this way, right? Heading 180. But if we say, but if we're at 0, let's set it to 0 again. If we're at 0, we go and go and go and go and go and hit here. If we say set H to minus heading, well, the heading is 0. So minus 0 is just 0, right? We're not going to change his heading. He's just going to keep going off the screen. So it won't. So set H to minus heading works for the hitting something on the side, but not for the top and bottom. So if we were going to work out something for the top and bottom, we would have to think up a different formula. All right, so that's interesting. So okay, so we taught. Oops, we taught microworlds a new word, and we looked at some interesting physics, and now we're ready to go to step 4. Oh, don't forget to save. Let's go back and save this page. Save my project. Okay, now we're ready to go on to step 4.